Hi guys, hope everyone's doing well. I've been getting this question so much lately, so here's a video to answer it from one woman's perspective. People have been asking me, is it a good time to start on Turo right now? And the answer is yes. But there are some major stipulations that come with that because we are not in our usual marketplace and in our usual form of doing business. Things are very different right now, and we don't know for how long they're going to be different for. So here's sort of the criteria in my mind. If I was somebody who was thinking about getting started on Turo, what I would be thinking about if you're seriously considering starting in a climate like this. The number one reason why I think that it could be a good idea to start right now is if you find yourself in a position where you have a car and maybe you've been furloughed or you've lost your job or you've seen a decrease in pay and you need help to offset that car payment that you have, then that is a great reason why to list your car on the platform and try to bring in some additional income to offset any loss that you might potentially take. And of course, you don't want to default on a car payment or experience any type of repossession. So this is a great avenue to help bring in a little extra money. So that is one way, or one scenario rather, I should say, where it would be a really great idea to start on Turo right now. Second is if you are not necessarily in a hard situation financially, but you have an extra car, maybe you're working from home right now, or you were already previously in a position where you just don't really use your car very much, or you have two cars and you use one primarily and the other one is just kind of there, and you've been thinking about listing your car on Turo and kind of testing it out and get a feel for the market and exactly how all of that works, and you're still sort of undecided if you want to do it all the way or if you just want to partially do it or if you just want to try it, then right now is really a perfect time to get started on that platform with that extra car. Number one, because you're not financially stuck in a corner, right? So you don't have to make X amount of money. You don't have to bring in a certain amount of dollar to make a car payment. You have the flexibility to list your car and really accept any money that you bring in. Second, right now, I would say for me personally, probably 99, okay, let's be more conservative. Maybe 97% of my rentals are all local. Renting to locals, in my experience, has been a great experience for the most part. You generally get good people, you get good renters, and of course that could also depend on the area that you're in. But number one, you get to rent to locals, and number two, given the climate that we're in, people are not driving very much these days. So you can get away with offering lower mileage per day and knowing that you can still get rentals because people are doing just mostly local driving and most people don't have anywhere to go. If they are renting a car, it's because, they need to run errands, go get groceries, maybe go to the bank, and things of that nature, or just have reliable transportation. So it's a really great way to kind of get your feet wet, test the market. You can set your pricing accordingly versus people who really do this as a business where they have to get real competitive and drop prices, such as somebody like myself. Right now, I'm in a really competitive mode where I'm watching pricing, but for somebody in that type of situation, this is a great time because you can kind of just sit back and relax, set your pricing to where you're comfortable, and try to fish for some local rentals and get your feet wet and try things out on the marketplace and see how you like the experience of renting out your car. So it's an excellent time to get in. It's also a good time to get in because there are a lot of hosts who have left the platform and are starting to leave the platform. So we'll begin to see a decrease in the supply that's available in the marketplace, or at least a reliable supply. So if you're somebody who's thinking about coming in and you have a great reliable car that you can really make available to the people in your area, then that will give you a little bit of an edge coming into the marketplace, and it'll also allow you to take a spot in some of that supply that is missing. So for these reasons, it would be a really great time to get into the marketplace. Now, here is kind of my thoughts on the people who should not get into Turo right now, and it is absolutely not a good time for this. If you are thinking of going out and financing a car where you have a monthly car payment that you have to make no matter what to take care of that financial obligation, This is not a good time because the market is still pretty unpredictable. We don't know which way it's trending just yet or how long it's going to take to kind of stabilize back. Now, normally, say if we were talking about last year, this would be a great time to get in because it's summertime, the weather's getting real nice, and this is sort of peak season for the Turo marketplace, especially as we head into June, July, August. We get to this really sweet spot of the business, but as we all know, business is not as usual, and you don't ever want to find yourself in a situation where your financial risk could be at a detriment to you. So you don't want to be stuck with a car payment that you can't make because you bought this car to list on the platform to make money, but the market demand is just not there. And even now, I've discussed my March sales, my April sales, and coming into May, last month I was down 58%. I mean, that is a huge, huge, huge drop in revenue, right? It's almost one of those gut sinking feelings when you see that your revenue has dropped that much. Now, May is trending a little bit better, which is a good sign. We are seeing more cars on the road. A report came out earlier this week that here in California, we've only seen in the last week, the trends showed that it was only an 11% decrease than normal in terms of cars on the road. So all great signs in terms of people getting back on the road and people needing cars. And not only that, but the first line of transportation is going to be automobiles because you are self-isolated in a car, you are socially distanced. So even for people who may have normally flown to nearby destinations, they might be taking a drive instead. So definitely the automobile sector, I think in terms of transportation, will come back way before air travel, mass transportation, and things of that nature. So which makes me feel hopeful that our trends will gradually pick up and hopefully will be a better outcome than what I may have anticipated. Now, if you are somebody who you have lots of liquid cash, you're financially in a very healthy position, and perhaps you're considering purchasing a car, whether it's financing or buying it outright, to do Turo to bring in X amount of income by way of having it as a little either side business or full-time business, then in that position, right now is one of the best times that I've seen to buy a car. There are so many great deals out there, so many great financing options, so many great payment deferment options that are being offered by dealerships. It's just a great time because they're not moving units and they're really desperate to move units. So if you're really in a financially sound position where you can afford to maybe not necessarily make enough money that would have covered your car payments for, let's take a conservative number, for the next 6 months, but you want to take advantage of the deals that are out there in terms of car buying, then yeah, right now is a good time to go buy a car. But you really have to be 100,000% sure that you're going to be in a comfortable situation should you not get your car out X amount of days out of the month to make X amount of money. So that's kind of my opinion when I think about starting on Turo and what I think is the good and the bad and the people who should start and the people who shouldn't start, right? You always want to think about your risk versus reward, the opportunity versus opportunity cost, and make sure that you're on the right side of the scale because you just don't want to end up in a position where it could affect your credit or really put you in a bad financial position. Also, on that note, kind of the tip that I would give, and again, this is just one person's opinion from my perspective of looking at the market. If you are somebody who's thinking about coming into the market right now, I personally would recommend going with a medium range to maybe a more luxury range car. Reason being, the market is flooded with lower end economical cars, and it becomes very difficult to compete in climates like this because people who have maybe medium or higher end cars are willing to drop their prices in order to compete. So when you have a Corvette available for $40 a day versus say like a Hyundai Genesis for maybe $30 or $35 per day, usually the buyer will spring the extra $5 to $10 to experience something like a Corvette, because these deals are unheard of, they are unreal, and this is probably the only time where somebody would get to experience a car like that for such a price, right? And I've personally, since this whole crisis happened, I have picked up quite a few local renters who do wait for me to drop prices maybe throughout the week, like maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for some of my nicer cars. And they will watch my calendar so that they can book those cars during those days. And they don't drive very much at all. And I'm talking about maybe like 20 miles per day, so the usage is very low, and they're great renters, they're local, and they've become repeat renters of mine. And I'm more than happy to rent out cars at a lower price during the weekdays, where otherwise they would just be sitting, especially if it's to renters who I know are proven, who have been great renters, great communication, great experiences, right? So that's kind of what you're working with. And what you can do on your end, if you're thinking about getting into Turo, or you're thinking about adding a car to your fleet during this climate that we're in, is just on a daily basis do a little research. Look at the marketplace, look at the marketplace in your area. For me, I look at the marketplace here in Orange County, I look at LA, I look at San Diego, and I look at Vegas, because those areas tell me a lot about the way things are trending. There are certain cars that I watch and I specifically look at for pricing all the time, because I want to see how people are moving. For example, there's an M4 that I look at probably once a week. That M4 I have never ever seen priced below $190, and this guy gets that price. But more recently, I saw that he dropped his price to $105, which I have never seen for as long as I've been watching that listing. So you can see that people with higher end cars are willing to bring their prices down in order to compete, which will chip away at some of the renters that you could potentially, that would normally buy in the lower, more economical range, right? People will spend a little bit more to experience something a little different. So just things to think about, watch your marketplaces, do your research, check in on Turo and the cars available every single day. See what you're seeing a lot of. If you're seeing a lot of a certain type of car, that means they're not getting the bookings, and that maybe that category is very saturated, and it would be very hard to compete, especially in these upcoming months, while we still figure out how the market is going to balance itself out, or if it even will, or how long we'll be trending downwards, when the trends will pick back up, and when we will normalize. We just don't know. So these are all just things to consider. Again, watch your marketplaces, peg certain cars that maybe you feel like you would list a car, either that exact car or a car that is within its category, and just watch over the weeks or the next month how they're trending, how their pricing is moving, and if they're getting bookings for their cars. If you do a search and the car doesn't pop up, it's likely because they have a booking. If you do a search and the car is available, it's because they don't have bookings. You can also look at their reviews, look at what people are saying about that car. And these are all very telling factors and variables of how a car can perform. So just all things to consider. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on what, if you're thinking about starting, who should start and who shouldn't start. And you really want to take this climate into consideration, because it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. But I am hopeful that things will begin to pick up as summer rolls around and people start getting out. I know here in Southern California, or I should say California, our bans are starting to be lifted beginning this Friday. Today is Wednesday, and we will go through a couple of phases of this. But then again, we are still in unprecedented times, and we don't even know what any of this means. Should we lift a ban and things get worse? Does it revert? Does it have an adverse effect? So these are all just things to really watch. You want to read carefully, look at the sources where you're getting information from, so that you can project trends. However, I am hopeful for the summer season, given how I'm seeing May sort of trend upwards. I think getting into June and July and August, we should definitely see a pickup in business. All right, guys, on that note, that is my 2 cents on this topic. Hopefully you guys find this valuable. If you have any additional questions about getting started on Turo within a climate like this, or just any point in 2020, definitely drop me a comment below and I'll get back to you with my thoughts on it. And if you like this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell notification so so that you know when my videos go live. I would definitely so appreciate the support. I have a new claims video coming up with something I experienced the other day. I'll walk you guys through it. I don't have the car yet, but should have it later today. So I'll be sharing that next. All right, guys, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.